The weather is gorgeous out there. I went for a long walk yesterday. I only wanted to do a short one, but I went probably about an hour. It was so nice yesterday afternoon. So I'm going to do the same today. So let me know how's the weather where you are. I'm hoping that it's sunny all over the UK. I got a very special guest just waiting to meet you. And I know you've been looking forward to it because I have been having messages. And it take me quite some time to get him, it's a him, on the show. I love it. I love what he's doing. I love all about him. I got most of his stuff, unfortunately not set up at the moment, but I'm sorting out the garage and hopefully maybe next year I can have my little studio back in. But without any further ado, I can see all of you just sort of coming on. Good morning, Edward. I'm coming on and saying hello, good morning, Charlotte, and everybody else. Right, without any further ado, let me introduce to you my very, very special guest. Actually, he's Simon's best friend, so you better be nice to him. Martin, good morning.
Morning. How are we doing, Kitti?
I'm all right. How are you?
Isn't it?
So Martin is from Tuffnell Glass, and I'm just sort of gonna give it over to him that side. I'll never know what side I'm doing that side, and let him to tell you about how he started and how he how long have his love how long his love affair been with glass. So over to
I don't know where to start. I'm not used to talking really, but basically I've been in glass 35 years. So as you can imagine, I started when I was like 37, 38, something like that. And my father was a glass blower. So as a little kid, I would sit in the garage watching my father make scientific glassware in the garage. And in them days, the torches were huge, the flames were huge. It was like a jet engine. And it's everything a boy wanted to be. Other kids wanted to be train drivers and firemen and stuff. I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to be a glass blower. And so when I left school at 15, the school thankfully said, you can go now, Tuffers, we don't need you anymore. Yeah, I didn't need a careers officer because I was going to be a glass blower. And that's what I did. I went straight into the glass factory and I started glass blowing. And you can sort of say it all went wrong from there, really.
So in terms of putting in perspective, like you say, the flames very huge and the furnace is very huge. Like what sizes are we talking about?
Well, that was years and years ago. Now it's all shrunk down. So with the power of oxygen that we have and the better equipment and the equipment that's made for the job now, what we work with today is around about sort of the width of, say, your little finger and about 8 inches long. So it's a silent flame. It's what we call a whisper jet. So it's really, really silent. So you can hear the radio over the top of it and stuff. And in some cases, you hardly know the torch is lit. So it's really, really easy to set up, easy to work with. A lot of people will have it in the shed, in the garage, in the conservatory. It's a craft you can have like yours at home. Just sat there making beads all day long.
Right, we need to challenge somebody here. Jackie's saying, I met Martin at Bead for a few years ago and I bought the whole kit to make my own beads, but I'm so rubbish. I'm ashamed to admit I've not had the kit out in quite a while. Well, you and me, Jackie, both, we're going to hold each other accountable. So, what time frame shall we say? I do need to need to move stuff out of the garage and set it all up. But by the end of the year, Jackie, I want you to message me some picture with some of your beads, what you made, and I'm going to message you with some picture of what I made. How about that?
Jackie needs to get on our YouTube side as well, because we've got a massive YouTube side. All the videos on there. There's this oik from Yorkshire that sits there making beads all day long on YouTube and stuff. And just there's everything from the beginner, more through to the medium, middle of the road bead maker, right through to the experienced stuff, which is me doing larger scale borrow work and stuff. But Jackie, go on YouTube, watch YouTube. If we can't inspire you, I promise you nobody can. There's so much easy stuff to do on YouTube.
Just in a bit, we're going to show you a little video Martin put together that how you can make beads at home, like with a little hothead. And thank you very much, Lucy. Lucy just put your link up for your website. So Camille would like to know how easy is to do it.
Dead easy. Honestly, if an idiot like me can do it from Yorkshire, it's just so easy.
You are not idiot. Stop it.
In the old days, me and you, Kitti, we used to stand at shows and we used to demonstrate all day long. And you can make a bead in a minute. It won't be the most perfect round bead, it won't be the most perfectly decorated bead, but it's your bead, and that's what we sort of aim at. It's one of them brilliant crafts with the more practice you put in, the more skill you, the better results you get, and it's just so easy to learn from. So if you spend 2 or 3 hours on a torch, you're going to get round beads, pattern beads, square beads, stuff with with flowers on and stuff like that. I can't explain how easy it is. I just think, a lot of people will stand and watch me and say, oh well, the sign of a true craftsman is to make it look easy, but it isn't. It's just control. Don't be kids brilliant at it. Kids are absolutely great, because you do tend to find that grown-ups are a little bit scared of the flame because they associate it's noisy, or it's hot and it's dangerous and it's going to burn you, whereas kids don't have those conceptions of the damage it'll do to you. So just get on and just play with it. It's great fun.
I can actually sort of contest that, because this was BC, which is before children. Me and Simon, we came up to you twice, didn't we? And that's how I started. I seen Martin at the show, and I was like so interested and intrigued with it that I really wanted to learn, but I was more interested in glass fusing at first, and little did I know. So I went up and had a session with Teresa, which is Martin's partner, doing glass fusing, and then they had all this equipment out for glass bead making. And I was like, oh, I have to come back. I have to come back and do it. And I came back, and I never really looked back. And one of the flame off is one of the shows. We had Victoria there. And how old was Victoria back then? Maybe 10, 11? I don't think she was much older than that, was she?
She was little and blonde and irritating. So, I mean, she could have been 14, she really? It's like...
Oh, yeah.
10 or 11, yeah.
And she even sat down and she made some glass beads, and she was fantastic at it. So, but I'm not saying that get something like that for your kids to do, because you do need to supervise them. But like if a 10, 11-year-old can sit down and learn it in an afternoon, then anybody can do it. And like there's so many beautiful artists out there, and like every single year when we go and look at the flame off, so the flame off is it's not on this year, and it wasn't on last year, unfortunately, at all. But we celebrate the whole glass bead making, the whole industry, and we have a show for a couple of days with classes, and like loads of Lampwork artists are there. And I always get amazed, like what people can make, how they can really put their artistic flair in there and come up with all sorts of different pieces, different decorations, with different colors, and like the lady from Germany who had the bubbles inside, and the lady who made the galaxy ones, and then from all over the world. And he's asking who is Victoria. So Victoria is my daughter, who's not small anymore. She's 20 now. Shimul, yeah, I think she's put up your Tuffnell Glass, your link, but we checked the ad. So Daxy's asking, will you do the flame off again next year? This is putting you on the spot, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we would. There's a lot of things we have to look at before we can consider doing it again. We've got to look at the new. I think we'd have to look at a new venue, because we sort of had problems with the venue in that a lot of visitors thought it wasn't in the right part of the country. It was hard to get to and stuff like that. So we'd have to have a look at the venue. We'd have to obviously have a look at the financials of it, and
I think we have to wait this year and see how this year goes with all the exhibitions and everything else, because like 1 minute you're allowed to do something, next minute you're not, and there's restrictions and everything else, and like we want everybody to be safe. So I think it probably will be by next year while we will know like what we can and can't do. So that's like us not planning any exhibitions at all this year. Oh, Sarah's saying, I always forget.
Bead shows, it's a lot of people think that you just rock up and you put your stuff on a table and you start selling, and in actual fact, you've got a few days loading a van, getting stock ready. You're paying a lot of money to be at bead shows nowadays.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of planning that goes into it. And from an organizer's point of view, there's a lot of planning. Flame off for us as Tuffnell Glass, the planning would start in August each year, and the flame off wasn't until April the following year. So we had the best part of 8 months worth of planning, and we were talking with artists in America and Russia and Australia and Israel and all over Europe. Now that was quite hard. European artists were a lot easier. And I don't want to bring in anything political, but with Brexit taking place, who knows how easy it is to get artists in from Europe at the moment. So, you know, I haven't
We
even
see.
tried yet. Yeah,
We
we'll see.
see.
All
I
we can
think,
say.
right. We got a question here from Diane. Where do you get the glass to use? Now, that's a very good question, Diane. And you can go to Martin, because Martin is the other side, Martin. Martin is the biggest glass bead maker supplier in the UK. So if you want something, he's got it. He's got such a big range, and everybody, all the Lampwork artists buy from him as well. Right, shall we pop down and have a look at some beads, and then we can play the video? So what was the first ever bead what you made, Martin?
Little square bead. It sounds really, really weird, but when I was
sorry, play the wrong one.
when I was an apprentice, I was that's a terrible picture. Isn't it?
I'll come back to this one, which we are a little bit bigger. So
when I was an apprentice, we used to make little square beads for lace makers, and so, you know, as a young Yorkshire lad, I was really into. I wouldn't say I was really into lace, but I knew a lot about lace making. And lace makers had a traditional square bead which had a crisscross pattern on each side, and it was called a square cut bead. And my first bead was a square cut bead. And the company I worked for, we ended up being the largest manufacturer in the world of square cut beads. And I used to make about 500-600 a day of these little beads, about 8mm square, plain, transparent colours. That's all they were. So very, very boring, but that was my first bead.
Brilliant. So what are we seeing here, Martin?
What you're seeing there is we've got a set of beads. You've got a set of 7 beads. They're ivory, and they're with what's called ivory silvered shards. Now, a shard is a big. We create a bubble of glass, and you blow the bubble till it actually becomes about less than 1mm thick, and the wall of the bubble is almost like tissue paper. And you break this shard up, so you get these little segments of sort of thin, wafer thin glass, and then you roll the ivory glass over the top of that. Now, when silver and ivory, the metal, precious metal silver, works with ivory, you get a very special reaction, which is this sort of random, organic, sort of stone-coloured effect. And this is what you've got on this bead. So you've got silver ivory shards over ivory beads. So we've got that one. And then you have various other beads. Now, these beads, your viewers will recognise, because, you know, they're a very, very simple bead, but also we put them with Tibetan. So they're with like sort of Tibetan silver beads, which I'm sure you guys are still selling.
I think that's what the beauty about it. Like, look at those ones. Like, they're all handmade beads, and I can see them that they're not even, and I love it, because that's where, like, it doesn't matter if they're not exactly the same size, because when you put them together, they're gonna look really, really good.
And you've been talking about for about a minute or two, even for a total beginner, total newbie, a minute or two per bead. So we're not talking about spending weeks and weeks doing things like this. And this one is a real interesting little bead as well. This is what we call a Frit bead. So a Frit is a glass that is like shards of glass, like broken glass, almost like you imagine like a crumb. So, we smash the glass up and we supply it in pre-bags, you know, so in bags of broken Frit. And you roll the white bead over this Frit, and you pick it up like breadcrumb, and then you flame it in, which just means you put it back in the flame, and then it just melts onto the side of the bead, and you get all these fantastic random breadcrumb eggshell effects and stuff like that. So again, 2 or 3 minutes per bead, something like that, even for a total newbie.
Right, I have to say a really, really big thank you for Charlotte Hoxton, because she sent us 1,000 stars. Thank you so much, Charlotte. It really, really appreciated. You are a superstar. You are the star. Right. I think like that's the type of beads what I started with as well. So just melting some beads and like laying it in a bit of a frit, and just gives that nice little texture on there. But there's so much you can do with it. But you know, where do you start? So if I never did any beadwork or any lampwork today, what would you say? Where do I start? But what would be the first thing you would want me to do?
Oh, just play with the glass, make a blob, pull a stringer. Just enjoy the fact that you've got this material originally as a solid material. You all know glass as windows or spectacles and things like that. And what you need to get your mind around is that you put it in the flame, And within about a minute or two of being in the flame, it becomes this treacle. It's a super cool treacle, but it's a treacle. And just get the enjoyment out of stretching it, pushing it together, blobbing it up. Just, you know, all these wonderful things you can do with it without putting restraints on yourself by making a bead or something like that. I just saw a really interesting question. A lady put a question on about how do you put a hole in a bead? And that's actually so easy to do. The hole is there for you. It's made for you. So when we make a bead, I've got some bits here. This is what we call a mandrel. So I'll just put that in the screen there. And the mandrel is a wire. So it's whatever diameter we want, 1.2, 2.4 millimeters. And we coat the mandrel with a little, what's called a bead release. And then we join the hot glass over the top of the mandrel. And so in effect, the hole is there already. When the bead cools down, you remove the bead. And so when you bought beads in the past, you might have found beads that have got a little bit of white powder inside them. This is actually the residue of the bead release. And so that's what we get the bead off the mandrel with. So the hole's the easiest thing. I'll guarantee all of you can make the hole perfectly well. You know, the bead on the outside of it might be a little bit off round, a little bit off square, but the hole's going to be perfect. Don't worry about the hole.
Shirley's saying, I have been in Murano, Italy, and seen them blowing glass. It's amazing. And you do sell Italian glass, Martin, don't you?
We do. One of well, actually, the biggest selling line that we sell is a brand of, this is the raw glass. This is a brand called Effatray. And the Effatray glass is the highest number of colours, the best quality of colours, and also the best value for money. So in our business, we sell Effatray glass, which is Italian. We sell Reichenbach, which is German. We sell CIM, which is Chinese, North Star, Tag, Greasy Glass. They're all American glasses. Unfortunately, we don't have any UK glass manufacturers anymore. So the glass rods that we're buying, yeah, it's fantastic. We've got over 4,000 different colours, incredible product ranges. I do like the Murano factories. I've never been there. I've got an open invitation, but my partner Teresa always got a little bit worried every year when I said let's go to Murano, the busman's holiday sort of thing, and so she never ever went until 2 years ago. She said, "Why don't we go to Murano?" And I'm like, "Well, I've been asking you for 20 years." But hopefully one day I'll go to Murano. I know quite a lot of artists on the island who, like I said, I've got an open invitation to say go and have a glass of vino with them and stuff like that. So I'd love to go. I'll look at Charlotte's question. I'll beat you there, Kitti. Do I do lampwork? Do I do blown glass, or do I do lampwork? I do both. Just the skill level I have. So I do a little bit of bead making, what you would call lamp working. And then lately, I also do quite a lot of marble making, again, lamp working. So I'll put a little marble up for you, because these are really my favorite things at the moment. During lockdown, I spent a load of time on YouTube and talking to fellow artists and stuff.
Look at that.
Stuff, to see how you make marbles and why, and the design that we can put into marbles and stuff like that. And so I've got another one here as well, which is what we call a vortex. I'm not sure you can pick the colours up, but there's a swirl of colour into the marble. So that's lamp work. And then in glassblowing terms that I do as well, I do stemware, I do stemware, which is glasses, even shot tumblers, wine glasses, beer tankards, things like this. And then hollow glassware as well, which is candle holders, oil lamps, and various things. So I can do almost anything apart from double glazed windows. I'm not very good at glazed windows. So.
Oh, bless you. Right. So, shall we go ahead and play the video so you ladies can see that? You were saying, "Oh, wow, and stunning." Your ladies can see how to make a glass bead. Now, this is what Martin's going to show you is on a hot head, which is, I guess, that's the entry level into glass bead making, because the hot head sits on, actually, why am I talking about this? Martin, you're the expert. you can talk everybody through about with it. Right, so I'm going to go to the video, and then Martin's going to talk you through what you are seeing.
So this is one of the YouTube, we put together a clip of YouTube videos that we do explaining about the hothead. So the little brass torch in front of my hands, you can see, is the hothead torch. And exactly like Kitti said, this is the entry level torch. So this torch only costs around about £42. You've got a kilo of glass rods there now. Those are the Effectra glass rods. The mandrels I'm holding as well. mixed mandrels, and the little white tubs that I'm shaking there is bead release. And so in this demonstration, we're showing you dip the mandrels in the bead release, which is how you're going to get the beads off. And then we light the torch up. So the difference in the screen color is that in this shot here, we're filming it through what's called a Diddy screen, which is a screen that cuts out the sodium glare. So when you're putting hot glass into a flame, you get quite a strong yellow glare. And so that's not great for cameras. It's not great for eyes, unfortunately, either. So in this shot, you can see the blue flame, but there's a bit more flame above there. And the glass becomes a super cool liquid or a treacle. And then you start to just, with practice, you control that glass, wrap it around the mandrel. The more you keep turning it, you can see my hand, in my left hand, I'm constantly rotating the mandrel. And you're turning it and turning it in the flame. The glass becomes super hot, becomes liquid again. And it naturally goes round. So the first shape you will always get is round. From there, we can use presses to press it into either a lentil shape. With the clips here, we've got dichroic, the real bling, the shiny glass. We've got mica, which is like a metallic dust. You've got the yellow one, the green bead with yellow flower heads on. Those were just done with a razor tool. So you put almost coffee beans on and you press them in the middle. Metal marble bead at the bottom has just been rolled over a surface. So that was done over a marble. If you wanted to do it over a cheese grater or something like that, you would pick up the same sort of pattern. And then you've got an evil eye bead at the top, which is a really old bead. I call it evil eye. A lot of people have different Sputniks or different descriptions for it now. But I used to say, yeah, when I started, the only beads coming from Turkey were evil eye beads. And so they were very similar to that. So that shows you the beads before they come off the mandrels. So you can see the grey bead release on the mandrels. And then you can actually, when we take them off, like I said before, you can get a little bit of residue left in the bead, which you can use cleaners to clean out for. We sell cleaners as well. And I saw someone putting on a lot of Lampwork beads. I know Kitty's got masses of Lampwork beads on her site. And in fact,
I got the ones I got them from Helen, and she's such a lovely lady. So Helen buys a lot of glass. Helen actually buys the glass from Martin, and then she used to live in the UK, but now she lives in France. And I just love her stuff because she makes the most amazing flowers. But she just one of the Lampwork artists. There is so many of them. There is so many in the UK as well. Do you actually sell the beads themselves as well, Martin, or just the materials to make them?
We used to sell the beads ourselves, but then during the first lockdown, we had such a massive rise in sales with everyone going back to the crafts. We actually had to set that page of the site down because we just couldn't keep up with demand. So at the moment, it's just the products to make the beads, the kits. If you go on our site, which is tuffnellglass.com, masses and masses of kits starting from as little as 60, 70 pounds and going right through to over £1,000 if you want to spend that. What we'd say to you as well is go, hopefully now we can start having lessons with artists nearer where you live. Go have a lesson. Go have a 2-hour lesson. Might cost you around about 30 or 40 pounds, and just find out how much you're going to enjoy this. Find out what you love about this Lampwork, and have this lesson. Then come to us and buy the kit. And you know what level you want to go in at. Whether you're going to want to go in at the lower level or go in mid-range at £500 or something like that. So I just say I can't believe I'm talking to so many women on a Sunday morning. It's not my life, to be honest. It's Sunday mornings for me are just very, very laid back and relaxed and cutting the grass sort of thing. So,
right, Camille's got a question. Is there a smell when you're melting glass?
No.
And actually, going back to talking to so many women, I can see, Martin, like you went and got a haircut. And I know Simon said to me, you had to queue up for an hour to get this haircut to look beautiful as. So you look very handsome this morning, Martin. Is there a smell? Camille is asking.
Well, apparently at your end there's a smell from Simon, but not from my end. No. There's a fume, which sometimes, depending what types of materials you work with. Now we started talking about working with glass and glass lamp working and making beads. You get a little bit more experienced into this, and you start putting things like silver foil and gold leaf and silver wire on the bead. Now, when you heat silver, you do get silver nitrate off the bead, so there is a fume that comes off that bead. So we do advise at that point, if you need to work in either a well ventilated room or have windows open and doors open and stuff. But the basic, to begin with bead making, don't worry about the fumes or anything like that. Once you get a little bit more experience, And especially if you're working with enamels and silvers, then we look at extraction. Yeah.
Right, have you got any more beads to show us, Martin?
I
I know
think
you've got so many there.
yeah. Let's have a look. I didn't get time to get my nails done. I only got my hair done. And
All
my
right,
eyebrows.
okay, we let you off. Ladies, are we gonna let him off just with the hair done and not the nails done?
So this is, it's almost like a double core bead. So the center of the bead is like a metallic green, and then we've layered clear over the top to magnify it. Now again, we brought these shards in, which, like we said, is the very, very fine glass and silver, almost like balloon thickness of glass. And we've wrapped those round, and then you can see some little silver dots. And this is actually an American glass called double helix. And the double helix glass is so specialized because it's loaded with silver inside the glass, so you get these fantastic reactions. If we heat it in one temperature, the glass goes sort of silver. If you heat it in another temperature, you can get these peacock blues and peacock greens. So, and then we've used a press, and it just puts this swirl on the bottom of the bead and everything. I can't take credit for this one. Teresa, my partner, made this one. Because obviously, I'm not saying blokes can't make beads. There's some fantastic male glass blowers and lamp workers, but you girls, God, you have the art, the mindset to really take it to where the skill level is, you know. So
Is there more ladies or more? I'm not like trying to be like. Is there more ladies or more men glass bead artists? Because certainly not like you said that about you ladies have the mindset. When I'm thinking back, like on the flame off, I always see more ladies.
definitely more ladies. It's not, you know, as a young lad leaving school, you don't go to the careers officer and say, well, I want to learn how to make beads with little white flowers on and roses and pumpkins and stuff like that, you know. But you certainly didn't in Yorkshire, where I came from. So yeah, it's definitely a lady thing. But the advantage now is that we're very much led by the American market. So with the World Wide Web, we keep watching America and watching what they're doing. Now there's a huge growth in what we call practical art glass in America, which is to be bluntly basic with it, is pipes, you know, pipes and smoking paraphernalia and bongs and stuff like that. But from that has sprung sculpture ware, drinking ware, shot glasses, and just art glass. Art glass is becoming so much more popular now. So before my earlier days, let's say back in the 70s, a lot of your viewers might remember going to Blackpool and Whitby and Morecambe and places like that and seeing a glassblower on the pier. And so keep reading messages, sorry. And seeing a glassblower on the pier, and they would make lucky ducks and they would make glass animals and glass flowers. And I think really throughout the 80s and the 90s, that sort of drifted out of fashion. Whereas now it's really come back into fashion. So people want to learn how to make glass flowers and daffodils and snowdrops, lucky ducks, lucky pigs, you know. And again, my part of my apprenticeship was making lucky pigs and making lucky ducks. But sculpture ware is really coming back in. And again, look on YouTube and look on places like Etsy and stuff like that. And I'll name check an artist called Laura Quinn. And you look at Laura's work, and she's based down at Plymouth. And Laura does sculptural work, which is just mind blowing. It's glass rods, and it creates massive necklaces that are totally impractical, I'm sure, to wear, but they're just beautiful works of art. And so just look. I mean, go on the computer and just look for Lampwork. And you'll see some incredible work from the UK and from America. But you know, let's support the UK sort of thing. So I think I've drifted off a bit there, didn't I? I think
Yeah,
I did.
that's all right.
Yeah.
We're ready for the next bead, Martin, when you are.
All right. So this is reasonably simple, to be honest. Just a Millefiori bead, and so it's a black bead, and with 4 Millefiori chips on each side. It would randomly, you know, there's no pattern to it or anything like that. But Millefiori, obviously, in Italian terms, is a million flowers. And so every time you put a Millefiori on, it takes the shape of a flower. And so these are random Millefiori beads. Again, lampwork by, I think these are Teresa's in our studios. And I'm just looking now for some other ones. And so we've got, these are just,
Wow.
I mean, again, special with these. But this is just a cobalt blue glass and an ivory glass. And it's just all mixed together. And so you get this cobalt blue and ivory swirl. And then in the center, you take a piece of glass. And just where you see this swirl in the center. So just just around this one here, I think. You can see the swirl going round, and that's either a poker or a piece of glass that, while the glass is still hot, you push that into the glass and you give it a quick twist, and it just forms this swirl, almost like a vortex and a galaxy going into the bead. And again, that is such a easy beginner's sort of bead, because there is no random shape to it. There's no molded shape or anything like that. They're all handmade. They're all different shapes, and you just go in and do the vortex, and it distorts the shape again. But it's so brilliant, you know. I mean, you can either make a necklace of it or use one as a focal bead within a beaded amulet or something like that. So just have a little look, and let's see what else we've got. These are a little bit different. These are quite matted, these ones. And so there's a technique where you can use a very mild acid, and you can map the beads, so you can take the surface sheen off the beads, and it mutes them down. It makes them quite attractive on some colours. And so again, this is actually only a Frit bead. So the central ones, the darker ones, are just a dark glass coloured bead with a frit, which is the confetti that we talked about, the breadcrumb, and the bead is rolled through it. And then they've been dipped in this acid for about 3 minutes, and then neutralized, and then strung up.
Properly,
So,
a frit bead is the easiest bead to make, like to put a pattern onto a bead, because all you do is melt the glass and you just like roll the mandrel into the frit. The frit is in a little tray, and just all those, as the glass is melted, it just sort of picks up the frit. It's like when you touch like breadcrumbs, if you touch it with something wet, it will stick to it.
yeah,
Oh,
so
bless, I love that.
I get this to stand up. I don't think he's going to stand up. It's a little robin. It's a Christmas robin, but he's not going to display himself properly, is he? See if we can put him on a little stand.
Natalie's asking, did you burn yourself often when you first started?
All the time, Natalie, all the time. So, but you want to do it? My gaffer, my master, who was you apprenticed to, used to say to you, did it hurt? And you'd say, oh yeah, it's terrible, And he said, well, you remember that, you won't do that again, will you? And like they say, you burn yourself, you cut yourself. It's a learning process, But I have a real quick, funny story of when I used to, one of my first jobs as a glassblower, I used to work in front of shop, and I used to sit in this shop and make little lucky ducks and animals and stuff like that. And you're supposed to then sell them and stuff. And it was in the same town where I was born and brought up and went to school. So there was a girl who used to come in every day, and I had the hots for this girl. And I was doing a little bit of glass blowing, and I managed to drag a piece of glass across my lip when I was blowing it, and I cut my lip. And so like today, I was sat in a white t-shirt, and this blood was dripping down my chin and dripping onto my shirt.
Oh, no.
And I'm trying to be Mr. Cool, and this girl that got the odds for her. She's asking me, does that happen all the time? I said, yeah, of course it does. You've got to man up, haven't you? And I'll never forget what an absolute idiot I must have looked.
Ruth is asking, can I use tiny scrap some glass work for this too? So there's a little bit more to it. You can only, but again, I'm going to give it this to Martin, because different glass melts in different temperatures, and you need to use the one which is melts at the same temperature, otherwise the bead can crack afterwards. But I'll let Martin to talk to you about that one, and be ready for the next bead when you are.
There is what is called COE of glass. So the COE stands for coefficient of expansion. So we're going to get real technical on a Sunday morning. And what it means is that it's a difficult format, a chemical format of the glass. Now, yeah, she does actually come on. So what it means is you can't mix different types of glass. So a lot of people would hope that you can take a bottle of glass, say a gin bottle of glass, break that up and make a bead from it, which you can. But when you come to decorate the bead, you can't add, let's say, a Bailey's bottle to it, because the chances are it's going to be a different coefficient of glass. And so it's a bit like water and oil, where they'll join together in the heat and they look like they've joined. But as they start to cool down, the two difficult chemical formats of the glass actually don't like each other and can't stay together. So as the bead cools, you'll hear a little crack and they'll ping apart. It usually happens immediately as it cools, but it can happen 2 or 3 days, even 2 or 3 weeks after the glass has cooled. So what we say to people is, if you're starting to make beads, start with a basic brand like Frit, which is the Italian glass with the cheapest and the best range of colours. And so you make the bead with Frit and you decorate the bead with different colours from the Frit range. You can mix other ranges, but always make sure this COE number, you know what it is. And basically, there's only two to watch out for. It's 33, and the other number is 104. So 104 is a soft glass COE, which is the glass that we all work with for beads. All your beads will be made with 104, and you don't mix 33 and 104 because they'll just break apart. So, and it gets a lot more complicated than that, but I don't want to go there because it's just far too complicated.
And I think once you get into it and you do like really, I think this is like, it's addictive as well. So I have to warn you, all you ladies, it is addictive as well. When you start making glass beads, it's same as when you like making bracelets or do anything. It's just as addictive. And
it is. We sell a lot of kits, and we sell a lot of hothead kits, which is what we call the entry level kit, the beginner's kit. And probably 50% of the time, within about a week or two, people are ringing up and saying, right, I played with this hothead, really, really love it, but the cost of the gas, sorry, is relatively expensive compared to like propane gas, because you have to use a MAP gas, which you get from plumb centres and places like that. So they say, what's the next kit up? And so we say, well, you go for the next kit, which is a little bit more investment, but it's the kit that's the semi-professional kit or professional kit, and it's the one that Kitti's got, and it's the one that's going to get you going for the next 10 years. And at that point, we turn to people and say, welcome to the addiction. You've got the addiction. And like I say, that can be so quickly, within a week, 2 weeks. The issue then we have is that the wife doesn't want to give the hothead, the entry-level kit, to her husband, because the husband's always hanging about with this one. I can guarantee you, girls, it's when you're playing with fire and you're making beads, your husband is hanging around there thinking, that looks really good fun, that does.
Yeah, what can I do with that?
Yeah, what can I do with that? And so you move on to the next mid-range kit or the semi-professional kit and give the husband the hothead kit, let him play with that, and you will find out how addicted it is. I mean, I do this 12 hours a day. I'm in the office at 6 in the morning. I'm still at the torch in the workshops at 6 at night. I go and walk the dogs. I go and have my tea, and then most evenings I'm creeping back in the workshops at 8, 9 o'clock at night and making drinking glasses, stemware, marbles, and stuff like that. Because I love it. It's a mind-changing property material that we're working with. This is what we call a silver fumed marble. I'll put on the screen now. I know I keep harking back to the marbles, but it's so much fun.
That's your babies at the moment, isn't it? The marbles that we like to make the most. So just to put you in perspective, am I saying this right? So hothead is just a torch head what you put on the top of a tank. So for example, like chef use a version of a hothead sometimes to with their food, and other people like probably, I don't know, like, but would you have it if you like, I haven't got workshop and I don't tinker around with anything, but like some, like maybe your husbands or some men use hotheads as well for other bits of pieces in their
plumbing. Yeah, normally it isn't actually a plumbing torch, but it looks incredibly similar to a plumbing torch.
But
it's tweaked a little bit, but it looks like that, and it's the same sort of noise. So people will notice when you have a hothead torch, it is a relatively noisy torch. So if you remember, it's a gas-only torch. There's no oxygen working through the torch. So if you remember, like your Bunsen burners when you were at school in the science class, and if you were a real scientist at school, you'd use a Bunsen burner to heat stuff up. If you're a little terror like me, you'd put on the water tap and spray water everywhere, and that's just me.
Camilla's saying like a blowtorch. So I just wanted to sort of put into perspective, because when you come into a new craft and you don't see what exactly it is, your sort of mind wander like, oh my, how big is it? What flame do I have to have? And these hotheads, it's not the same, obviously, because a chef will use a different version of it, but it is the same concept what like a lot of people uses for a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then also it attaches to the top of a tank of gas. It's not a huge tank. It's not like a barbecue tank. It's say like about the size of a large hairspray tin. And so it screws onto the top, and then it stands on that tin on top of the workbench. So you don't need a special table. You don't need a special bench. We always say, you can do this on a table in the shed, a table in the conservatory, or something like that. But it'll last around about 3 to 4 hours, and then the gas runs out because it's a smallish tin. And then you go back to, well, I mean, I'm sure you can name drop. It's B&Q or Plum Centres and places like that, and buy more tins of it. But it does get a little bit repetitive because you're constantly changing the gas cylinders every 4 hours, and it'll always run out mid-bead and something like that. So eventually we can set you up with a system where you can run the same torch on a larger propane cylinder, and then on from there you can have a bit other torches and quieter torches, and that's where I get to the, like I said right at the beginning, the whisper torches, which are totally silent. But it's a growing thing. If you play golf, if you go fishing, I love my fishing. You don't go out and buy a £500 fishing rod straight away. You know, you buy a £15 fishing rod, and you see if you like it. And then if you like it, you go on a little bit further and buy a little bit better gear. So I'm sure it's the way with everyone, all the crafts, isn't it, Kitti?
I just very quickly hopped on your website. I wanted to like pull up a picture, but like I don't. Your website changed so much since I last been on it, which was years ago.
It's huge. I mean, I said there's like over 4,000 products on the website. So
wow.
If you go down bead making kits, we try and simplify it by saying bead making kits. There is all the different kits in there, starting from, as I said, £67.50, I think it is, right up to over £1,000. We've got a special offer on at the moment for you guys. Especially
I'll tell you what. Hold on one second. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pop back here, and I'm gonna share my screen, and we can show your website to everybody. Let me just give us 1 second so I can pull away the not relevant screens.
Is that me?
No, not you. Of course, it's not you. Oh, I would not want to hide you away, Martin.
I'm not relevant.
Right, there we go. So I'm gonna come back to the main screen and share it, and there we go. So this is Martin's website. This is tuffnellglass.co.uk. I'm just gonna go pop onto the home screen here. Now you do have that's the kilns and other bits and pieces what you like further down the line would want to get into it. So where do you want me to go to show like where your basic and starter stuff? Talk me through it.
If you go into the menu at the top, you've got Lampwork equipment, which is the second one in.
Yep.
And then that should drop down, and you've got you should have lamp working kits, bead making kits.
Bead making equipment?
Yeah. Kits, I think we're looking for. Is it virtually the first or second one down? I think because your screen is over the top of it, I think, to be honest. You've hidden it.
Oh, sorry. Let me just come back. And why am I on it? I don't want to be on here. I'm going to X myself out. There we go. So we are in bead making equipment. Is this the one?
Yeah. Sorry, no, bead making kits. The lamp work.
That one. Yeah, that's the one. Bead making kits. So like the big ones are like, the more expensive, but this is when you get serious about it, and then you want to come back and like really, like you don't want to set yourself up, but that is not where you need to start. If you do want to have a go, this is where you need to start, which is £67.50. And how many beads can you make approximately with this?
200 or 300. It's a kilo of glass, and that's roughly about 50 rods of glass. You'll easily get 10 beads out of a rod, so you're talking 400 or 500 beads out of that kilo easily. But realistically, I'll say 200 or 300 to start with. And
you have got YouTube videos there, so people can go off and have a look how to do it and what to do it and what to do with it. So to make 200-300 pieces of Lampwork beads, I think that's a phenomenal value. So do please check it out. If you do fancy having a go at glass bead making, then pop onto Martin's website, which is tuffnellglass.com, and just have a play with bead making starter kits. They're just great. I can only recommend it. But I'm gonna come back to us.
We've got a voucher as well that we've created for your viewers, your Sunday morning viewers, and just enter totally in the voucher.
Now you tell us, Martin. Now you tell us. You should have started with that one at the first. But what's the voucher?
You have to wean it out of me, from Yorkshire. I'm not just going to throw money away left, right, and centre. You've got to work on me to give a voucher away.
Oh, bless. So what is the voucher? Let us know.
It's a £5 voucher, so you get £5 off. Just enter totally. The words totally in capitals in the voucher on the website when you check out, and you'll get £5 discount.
Is it capital letters or doesn't matter?
I think it's capitals, from what I was told.
So you need to add, just to make sure, the word totally in your website at checkout, and you get the £5 off, yeah?
Yep.
That's the correct call. So, oh, you need to see it. What Trina's saying, a true Yorkshire man, just more like my uncle.
Well, what can I say?
And Lucy's saying she's going to show her other half this. He needs a hobby. Oh, yes, Lucy, you could get him into it. That would be... Carol is saying, like my hubby. Definitely. Right, so...
I love it. I mean, the husbands... I mean, at the end of the day, it's fire. And, you know, when you like a barbecue, blokes are there. Blokes are all of a sudden... You know, men don't want to be in the kitchen at all. We like a barbecue where there's fire and blokes are there. So bead making's the same, lampworking's the same. Tell them that you can make wine glasses and shot glasses, and don't mention the beads to begin with. You know, just get them going on something a bit more exciting. Yards of ale, proper manly stuff and stuff like that. And they'll love it. Yeah, absolutely great.
So put totally into your voucher or the checkout on tuffnellglass.com and you get £5 off your kit. So your £67.50 comes down to £62.50. So that's great. And you're gonna be able to make then about 300 beads with that one, Martin. So depending on the size, of course, but when you're working with a hot head, you want to make and when you first start, you're gonna make smaller ones anyway, don't you?
Make smaller beads, yeah, when you first start. You know, learn to control the glass and enjoy the control of the glass. Don't try and go for something around about sort of 20 or 30 millimeters, because the cooling of the glass is going to cause issues when you get to that big. If you stick with the smaller beads, you need less time to cool them, and there's less chance of them cracking. So there's a word that we always use in glass, which is annealing. And so when you buy off an artist off their website and it says my beads have been annealed in a temperature controlled kiln, this is very important, because the beads that you're buying, you might be paying 10 or 20 pounds for, and they are so intricate and so many different colors of glass added in there. And so very, very briefly, when you make a bead, when you add another color or a metal or a chip of glass into that bead, you create stress, because glass is a blob. Glasses are happy to be a blob. And this stress in the glass just gets a little bit, it's not happy with stuff being added to it. So you need to anneal the glass, which means we take it up to a certain temperature, which is 500 degrees. We cool it down slowly. Now, the small beads that you're going to start with don't need this process, because they're small, they're very, very simple, they're very, very quickly made. You can cool them in vermiculite, you can cool them in cooling bubbles, things like that. But once you get bigger and once you start adding designs and getting real technical with it, you might have a problem. So that's, again, come back and see us, because you don't need to anneal beads immediately. You can anneal beads 2 or 3 weeks after. And we offer a service, because we're a good old Yorkshire company. And we say, send us a bag of your beads if you want them annealing, and we'll put them through our kilns, because we have so many kilns going up every night. And we will anneal your beads and we'll send them back to you free of charge. We don't charge for that. Just next time you see us, get us a bag of biscuits, get us a packet of jammy dodgers or chocolate creams or something, and make sure that we get biscuits. So we need biscuits. Anyway, we keep going.
Sorry, Charlotte is saying if she had to have off, have learned a lot and it's been really enjoyable. Many thanks, Martin and Kitti. Charlotte, again, thank you so much for the stars. And we had some other stars coming in from Charlotte, another Charlotte, Aurelano. Thank you so much for the stars as well. So Diane is asking, where are you based?
I'm up in Yorkshire, in East Yorkshire, so it's where the sun comes from. It's the shiny bit. It's a place called God's Country, obviously, and I'm in a little village called Rudston. So Rudston is 200 houses. We've got nothing. We've no post office, no shop. We've just got our pub opened again because it shut down for a while, and it's just about 5 miles outside Bridlington. So we have the coast 5 miles away. We can walk the dogs on the beach. We have the Wolds. And then if we go a little bit further, we're into York and the Dales and stuff like that. So it's a beautiful part of the country. So I was born in Yorkshire, I was born in Beverley, and I've lived in Driffield and then moved to Rudston. I've never left Yorkshire, no intention of leaving Yorkshire. I want to stay in Yorkshire for the rest of my life. It's just the place to be for me. So, and yeah, it's a great place.
The ladies are one step ahead of you, Martin. They're already saying, I already showed my husband. they and Lona was saying earlier, Snap Lucy, I was thinking the same. Either my husband or son could make beads for me. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
We should have done this before Christmas. You could have got your husband a Christmas present to make beads for you. So it would be a gift. We just keep giving back to you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It is great. You know, you can then just tell him what you want, what color combinations you want. So Patricia's saying she's in Hull, which is look. I mean, what are we, about 30 minutes away, Patricia? I think. And Anne was born in Bradford. You see all the Yorkshire girls come out. You know, that's what we like to see. Yeah. Manchester. Oh well, Diane. That was a shame, wasn't it? But you know, better luck next time.
Tina is saying, applied as a child in Emmondale Pub Park. I don't know. You might know that. Where is it?
And that'd be great. Yeah, I'd want to go there.
And her auntie lived in Greengate.
All right. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, it's great. I mean,
Right,
I'm not getting nasty on the rest of the country. You know, I do like the rest of the country, but I travel the country working, so I just tend to go in and do the shows, do the jobs, and I come back up the M62, and there's a road sign on the M62 that says "Welcome to Yorkshire," and I always, no matter what time of day or night, usually it's a Sunday night when I come back from working away, I beep the horn, I flash the headlights, I pat myself on the back and say, well done. And the girls in the van just look at me and say, do you have to do that every time? And I say, yeah, I do. Yeah. And so it's just so good to come back home. Yeah. So if your husband's looking at the site, husbands always have questions. I know that, get them to ring up. You can either ring us, you can email us, you can message us through Facebook or direct mail us or something like that, So all these things, you can get in touch with us. There's myself and Sally in the office. We're here 5 days a week. We talk to you. We'll answer your questions, answer your queries. Again, show you videos and stuff like that. So, Patricia said she was Yorkshire born and bred. Good girl.
Artin saying it's beautiful part of the world.
I feel like I'm going to end up upsetting some people that work Yorkshire.
I love it, Lucy. Love this. All of our ladies got plans for our hobbies. Definitely. Make them work. Make them work for us. But then they will enjoy themselves as well, making them. Right. So what have you got on the picture there at the moment? That's your glass rods, isn't it?
That's some of the glass rods. So it's an Italian blue, which is like a periwinkle blue. And this just gives you an idea. The glass rods come to us, if you imagine garden canes, so it's solid rods of glass. When we supply them to you, we cut them down to more manageable size. So they're 30 centimeters long. These are 5mm diameters, so like knitting canes, knitting needles, really. And you get around about 15 rods in a quarter kilo. And a quarter kilo, this particular quarter kilo is £4.50. So you're talking about around about 30 pence a rod. And I would easily say with small beads, with the beads you've been looking at today, you will be able to get 10 to 12 beads out of that rod. So we're talking about pennies per bead or something like that, aren't we? So it's very, very cheap. And then from there, we've also got these are the bags of frit. And so this is like an opal green frit. And again, you take it out of the bag, you lay it in an old metal tin or a metal tray. So apple pie trays are really good. We can't mention him, but he makes exceedingly nice cakes. And so you put the frit in there, and then just roll the hot glass through it, roll the hot bead through it.
You can mention it, Martin. It's okay. So what Martin is saying is what I usually say when I do my trees. I say, like, when you buy your posh pate at Christmas, keep the little pot because it will be good for a lot of things. So what Martin's saying, when you're eating your little apple pies, like the little tin on the bottom of it, keep it because it'll be perfect for your glass bead making.
Yes, yeah. So there's loads of things, loads of tools, loads of things you can use in the kitchen. So are they fragile? No, not at all. Yeah, I'm still talking about the beads. No, the beads aren't fragile at all, Tina. When the process of getting the bead off the mandrel, you use a pair of pliers to hold the mandrel and you twist the bead off. If the bead was fragile in any way or if it was cracked, it would break at that point. It would break then. So you're not going to be in a position where you're supplying it to somebody and the beads are going to crack, 3 days, 4 weeks or something after you've made a necklace with it, something like that. Okay, Olivia. Yeah, just reading your
So
message there as
how
well.
long? I just wanted to point out because it doesn't take that long to. Actually, I would like to say thank you for the stars first of all. And how long does it take to make a bead? So how many minutes are we talking about here? Because like I'm really busy, and like a lot, I know a lot of you out there are busy. So if I just wanted to make a couple of beads because I had 10 minutes, can I make a couple of beads in 10 minutes?
Easily, absolutely easily. There's very little setup cost. You know, there's no setup preparation or anything like that. You haven't got to pre-warm anything. You've not got to warm the torch up or anything like that. You could literally, you know, you can have everything stored in one of those metal biscuit tins or something like that. Go out, put the torch tip on top of the gas cylinder, get your mandrel, dip your mandrel in the bead release, light the torch. 10 minutes later, that's it, job done. Wait 5 minutes for glass to cool down. Everything goes back in the tin. It's all packed away or anything like that. Like I say, you don't have to prepare anything. You don't have to get anything ready for half an hour, even half a day or anything. So it's an instant hobby, and again, that's why blokes tend to like it, because it's pretty instant. You've got a reaction; it either works or it doesn't work, and that's great. And again, every mistake is a learning curve, but also every mistake is you look at it and think, well, it isn't round, it isn't, it hasn't got a yellow flower on it, isn't like I think it was, but in actual fact, it's a bit pear shaped, and that's pretty unique because not everyone can make a pear shaped bead, and that yellow flower has gone a bit smudgy, so it takes the shape of, let's say, a bird or something like that. That's the beauty of it. It's all your bead. It's all your handmade beads. But yeah, it's, if we're all time limited, you don't have to spend a lot of time on this at all. The risk is that when you go, it's a bit like when you go on Instagram and when you go on your phone and stuff like that. You think I'll spend 5 minutes making a bead. No. Before you know it, 2 hours have gone, and the kids are wondering where the tea is, and the husband's wondering if you're actually coming in to go to bed tonight or something like that. That's the risk, you know. It just becomes addictive, and
I
again,
know.
just yeah.
I know it so well. Can you use glitter and stuff like that? Diane is asking. I think it would burn off.
Yeah, it would burn off. You've got to be a little bit careful what you put in. Silver leaf, gold leaf, bronze and copper foils and things like that. We do have mica, but it's a material we buy from the manufacturers in China, and it's very high temperature. So there is a lot of things that you can't add to it, like glitter and stuff like that. You can put ashes in, pet's ashes and things like that. We do quite a lot of beads. Well, we do. I do a few marbles actually with ashes in, but we don't tend to do beads because there's another company that we supply that do the beads for us. But yeah, if you want cremation beads and stuff like that. But yeah, there is a lot of things can go into it. Like Camille's just said about the gold flakes and stuff from catering companies. I would try it. It's not something I've tried. It might work. I know gold flakes generally from gold supply companies work okay. Although gold is a fragile metal, so you have to heat it very high up in the flame and keep it away from the intense parts of the flame. So, and again, silver foil is very easy to work with, and palladium foil is easy to work with. Silver leaf, with it being a little bit thinner, can burn off and go yellow. So again, you work higher in the flame and just, you know, work in a softer, lower temperature flame. But the beauty of this craft, like yours, Kitti, you go on YouTube and you go on Instagram, and there is so much free advice out there. There is so much. I mean, you can join forums on
Inspiration.
inspiration, free forums to join where other artists are there. And when I first started, the stuff we learned was secrets till death sort of thing. You know, you didn't go around telling anyone how you make a lucky duck or how you make a Liebig condenser. Whereas now the forums are there, and the artists that have learned their craft, they're desperate to show you. They're just so excited about what they've done. They want to show you. They want to tell you how wonderful it is what they've done. And so if you go on some of these Lampwork sites and you just say, you know, I've seen these beads here, how would they have done that? They'll tell you. They'll show you. You know, it's such a sharing community we've got now.
Have you got anything else you want to show us on the mat, or?
No, I think you've just about got it all now. I think
I'm
I've
gonna.
got a little tool, so put the tool up there. So when you get a little bit more experienced and you're fed up with making blobs and pear-shaped beads and stuff like that, and you do get to a point where you want to make specific beads with specific shapes, so either 8mm, 12mm, 14mm round beads, this is one of the tools we use. And so you can see here, we've got these grooves cut into, this is a graphite paddle. And so
Can you just
graphite
turn
is
it to the side, Martin, so we can see it from the side as well? Like that's what it looks like. It's a block.
So it's a very, very thin paddle. And then you would put the hot glass on the mandrel, and then the mandrel would go in the groove, and you would turn the glass, whatever size orifice you've got there. It gives you a 14mm bead or a 16mm bead, and that gives you perfectly round beads. So if you're wanting to make a necklace or a set of earrings or something like that, this is the sort of tool we would use. And the reason we use graphite, again, high temperature graphite, is that because it doesn't dissipate the heat from the glass bead very quickly. The minute you come out the flame with hot glass, you have about 15 or 20 seconds as the glass starts to cool and goes back to being a solid item again. It's still very hot, but it becomes solid. And so if you would touch it with brass or stainless steel, it would start to cool it really, really quickly, whereas graphite doesn't do that. So it gives you that little bit longer. So yeah, it's just one of the tools. Again, we have hundreds and hundreds of tools.
And glass doesn't stick to graphite, but it will stick to metal and other bits and pieces.
It can stick to some metals. So we always say when we're doing demonstrations, we say that, you know, you come out of the flame to use tongs or tweezers or mashers to shape the bead and pull a piece off or put a piece on. If you do it in the flame, you're not bead making anymore, you're welding, because you will, with stainless steel especially, if you use stainless steel in the flame, you weld it to the bead. And this is something that everyone does the first time. And again, you learn really, really quickly. And like the young lady said right at the beginning about cuts and burns and stuff like that, you do get a cut. You know, glass holds heat longer than it looks like it does. And so you might put a piece of glass down and 3 minutes later it looks cold. It's not glowing bright orange, but it will be still hot. But it's no more than what you would get in the kitchen, picking up a frying pan, picking up a saucepan with a metal handle or something like that. You know, in fact, I've had worse burns in the kitchen, which is why I tend to stay away from the kitchen nowadays. It's
Is that your excuse, Martin?
yeah.
Would,
It's not a safe place for me, the kitchen. So.
would you be able to put that little bunch of beads back, what we've seen at the beginning, where he showed you all the different styles what you can make?
All the different styles you can make.
The one which you had the flower, and you had one which was rolled in frit, and you had...
Oh, that was on the video, wasn't it? That one. It was on the video, the end of the video.
I love it. I really do love it.
I mean, these are just so simple to make. And
you haven't seen the other one, the one towards the bottom of the one. Which one is that one?
The bottom of it, yeah. That's again made with. It's been put together with Tibetan beads. So you could do this as a little bracelet for a child, you know, because you can make it on the stretchy material and stuff like that, and then pad it out with Tibetan beads. But all these are just beads that have been made as sample beads when we've been testing different colours of glass and stuff. So you've got greens, you've got ambers, you've got ivories, you've got metallic blues and stuff. There's no pattern to it. There's no sizes. Some of them are disc shaped, some of them are round shape. Some of them still have the original coils that we've wound it on. And it just looks so easy to do, you know, it's so effective. And just looks like, it's a bit like when you have drawers full of beads, a bit like having drawers full of buttons, isn't it? I was always, with my granny's house, I always used to open drawers of buttons, and I used to be intrigued by all the buttons and stuff like that. So,
how much propane do you go through?
It's how many hours do you spend on it, sort of thing. When you start with the hothead kit, which is the very, very entry level kit, you'll be working with either propane or probably a gas called MAP gas, which is the gas from let's say B&Q and plumb centres, and that canister will cost you about £20. It will only last 3 to 4 hours, so it's a great entry point to find out if you like it. Once you've bought 2 or 3 of those and you've thought, hang on a minute, I'm spending a little bit on the gas, then come back to us and we'll set you up with a kit to use the larger propane cylinders, which are the ones you'd have for, say, gas fires or barbecues and garden heaters and stuff like that. We can set you up with that. So a 6 kilo propane cylinder would last a hothead probably about 100 hours. So then it becomes really economical. You're not spending a lot of money at that point.
So this is the hothead what we're talking about. That's your entry level sort of kit into your craft, and then like that's a kilo of glass. That's the one. But do you actually? I'm not sure if you do have. Do you have a list of people who do classes like around the UK, perhaps, that people can contact if they want to have a lesson with somebody?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we've got a list on the website. So I think it's still there. So it used to be on the website saying tutors that, I wouldn't say we recommend them, but tutors we work with and stuff like that teach. obviously has been very confused the last year with lockdown over who can teach and how we can teach and stuff like that. I know in our studios we've cancelled all the classes for a year and we didn't teach at all. But the other site to go to is a real friendly site. It's a page that you can look at called GB UK, and this stands for Glass Bead Makers UK. And they have a list on there, and you can go on the Facebook page and just ask as well. You know, say I'm in Herefordshire, I'm in Staffordshire. Have you got anybody that's willing to do classes, or can we open up for classes yet? And they'll be really helpful with you. There's also a Facebook group called Lampwork Tips and Tricks for Beginners, which is a really friendly site. Just go on there again, no charge to join that group or anything. I think you just ask to join. And again, if you went on there and said, look, I'm really keen on having a go at this, even if it's just for a hen do or a girly get together or something like that, is there anybody who can help me learn with 7 or 8 friends, you know, something like that? Is there a studio big enough to do it? And I'm sure they will find you somewhere.
So I just popped this one up here. This is the gbuk.org, isn't it? I just wanted to make sure that you know that it's the .org. It's not .com or .co.uk, it's the .org. That's the organization who does a lot of, like, they're all about glass beads and glass bead work making. And you can join them if you want to, but if you don't want to, you can just go and ask a couple of questions. And they're the people who will, this is like a bead workers guild or something like that. They will point you in the right direction where you need to be.
And if they don't, tell them that Tuffnell sent you.
Yeah, tell them that Tuffnell is going to come around and sort them out. Definitely. Right. So I'm thinking, and then I'm going to actually have to talk to Teresa, because I know Teresa has been collecting glass beads for years and years and years, hasn't she? So I think we need to convince Martin, me and you, we need to convince Teresa to come on some point and show off her collection. I think that would be really, really cool to do.
I mean, we have display cabinets in the studios that every artist that's come from, and we've had artists, again, all over the world, let's say Russia and America and Australia and everywhere, they always leave the beads behind that they've made. So we have display cabinets with hundreds and hundreds of beads in, and you would, I mean, even I look at these beads and say, how do you do that? You know, and I've got 35 years in the business and I don't see how you make this, and I don't understand how you make it. So, but a quick answer about the buttons: yes, you can make glass buttons. I must admit, it's a little bit more practice. You might need to put a bit more practice, a few more hours into that. But yes, you can make glass buttons. We have mandrels that have 2 holes in them, which is perfect for button making. Yeah. But yeah, I will try and persuade Teresa. I think, 10 o'clock Sunday morning could be a bit of an issue, but there you go.
I've got a lady who would like to come on, and she's in America. So yeah. I think we're going to have to do a couple of streams later on in the day, because I think it's like 5 a.m. for her, but it's 10 a.m. for us. And that's like, there's no way I could get up at 5 a.m. to do a live. So we can move times. That's no problem. That's not a problem. Right. Have you got any last questions for Martin? Please put in the chat so we can ask him before he goes. Have you ever seen glass that glows?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you stock
so originally it was called uranium glass many, many years ago. And that was actually made in the UK. It was made by a company called Plowden & Thompson's. And we used to, well, the company I worked for as an apprentice, we used to make cabochons that were made into rings, and the guys, because this was literally the 70s, the kids used to go into the discos and they used to have glowing fingers and glowing rings and stuff in the discos, but the glass was discontinued, and we rang the company and said, why was the glass discontinued? And they said there was a slight issue with the material that made the glass glow, hence it was called uranium. Guess what was in the glass? So it was discontinued. But now we have a new powder, and we actually have it in our website, and you can roll glass through the powder and you subject it to the daylight for about 10 minutes and it glows. So yeah, we have a yellow, green and blue, I think, glow glass.
Everybody's saying thank you there. It was so inspirational. It's just, I think, like, this is why I wanted to have you on for such a long time, because since we had Helen's earrings, and I'm actually wearing one of Helen's beads, one of her bellflower beads. Now, since we had Helen's beads and sold Helen beads, people loved it so much. And I keep saying it. Helen tells me that she can only make 40 beads a day. And then people are thinking 40 beads, like that's not that many, like, 40 beads a day, like, and yes, because like it's a process how you do it, and then she has to put it in a kiln, and I really wanted to have you on here just to sort of chat to everybody and make the appreciations for the craft, because I think a lot of us don't know about it, like what actual work goes into it, and there's stuff what you can do really quick, and like with the hot head you can make beads really, really quickly, but when you sort of up the game, I guess. It's a you go for a big kit and you go in big time, then you can spend like half an hour sitting there making one glass bead. Because I have seen artists do that, like especially when you're making a big one, and especially at the flame off. So it's like anything, like drawing or painting or cards craft, you can do a little bit, or you can take it, there is so much room to grow. I guess that's my point, is there is so much room to grow.
I mean, with Helen's beads, the preparation work that goes into the glass is incredible, because I know, looking at her beads, you've got a blue, say a bluebell flower bead, but the blue isn't a standard color blue. So she'll have mixed white glass with it, maybe mixed enamels with it to get different shades of blue and white. And this is preparation. The glass isn't like picking up a glass and putting it straight in the flame. She might spend 20 or 30 minutes the morning making enough glass to actually prepare for the next 40 beads. And so then when she puts the green glass on, she might have done the green. So in actual fact, she might have spent an hour during the morning preparing the glass, just getting ready to make 40 beads. So it's not just the actual making of the bead, it's the prep work. So it's like everything when you make bread. You can make a bread bun in, I'm absolutely going to shoot myself in the foot here.
Yes, because you already told us, Martin, you're not in the kitchen, so I don't think you should go there.
No, let's not go that bread scenario. But you can make it very quickly, or you can make a bespoke bread bun, shall we say, and take a long time. So.
Very good, Brett. Thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up for Martin, everybody, and just like show the appreciation, because I loved it. I really do love it. I have to say that glass beads is what. Although I'm really busy, but I really want to get back to it, and I really want to get my kiln out. I used to do glass fusing with Diacritic, and actually Teresa, Martin's partner, was the first workshop I had in glass fusing, and it was amazing. So I really do want to. Oh, Jodie's just last question. What's the difference? Oh, not once. What's the difference between Flamework and kiln work?
Exactly like it says, flames and kilns. So what we do at Lampworking is on a flame. So you've got the flame in front of you. And everything goes in the flame and is the glass is melted by the flame. So kiln work is, as it said, it was done in a kiln. So kiln is traditionally, it's a lot longer. So flame work is instantly, can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Kiln work, you do a lot of prep work. So say with sheet glass, doing coasters, bowls, slumped jars. And then that's put in the kiln, and the kiln is fired over a period of about 7 hours. And the glass fuses together in the kiln. So kiln work will take 7 to 8 to 10 hours, and lamp work is much quicker, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So
Olivia is saying this morning has been fantastic. Thank you so much. And on that note, we're gonna leave you to get on with your Sunday. I'm just looking at it's still really sunny out here, so I'm gonna be off for a walk for a beach. I might get Christopher to come out with me if I'm lucky, or Lucy. If I can drag them away, drag them out of the house. It's good for them. Let's go for a walk. Again, thank you so much for Martin. You've been a treasure this morning. I loved every single minute of it. And I'll see you tomorrow on Totally Beads at 10 a.m. I forgot what we're going to do. Oh, we're doing beaded beads tomorrow. Simon just reminded me. He's just here next to me. We're doing beaded beads tomorrow, so I'm going to see you tomorrow morning. And I'm really hoping for Martin to come back some point and show us something different. You never know. We will talk. We will talk and we see what we can do. Right, everybody.
That's the problem. Pubs are open now. It's not a good time sometimes.
Stop it, Martin. He's just joking. He's just joking. Right, everybody. See you later and have a lovely Sunday, or morning, night, or wherever you are. Bye.